Then
Oh.
Yeah,
let
I know
me
you have a lot to cover, so.
And then
I sure do.
I'm gonna open the chat. So if anybody wants to throw any questions in there, I'll work on answering those or sharing those with the group. If you
And
know,
there will
have pertinent
probably
to
come
everyone.
some times, Teresa, where you think the right thing to do is interrupt and ask a question and throw it in. So please do.
Sounds good.
Well, hi, everybody, and thanks for coming to this first in what's going to go be an ongoing series of classes that's going to run through the rest of the summer, all about the new Darwin Cloud. We've timed these classes for now because we're kind of at the end of Darwin Cloud development. Darwin Citrix, which you all have been using since 2017, is going to start being retired this month, and we're all going to be 100% in the Darwin Cloud, the new Darwin Cloud software. That this is the fourth iteration of Darwin, which actually was first created, started being created in 2001 and became public in 2004. Now, on today's class, we're not going to do any training. What we're going to do is cover all of the new features that are in Darwin Cloud that we've realized a lot of the new and sometimes the coolest features in Darwin Cloud are things that people have. They could be using them every day and they don't even know that they're there.
Mhm.
So we're going to do kind of an overview of what I think and Teresa thinks are the most interesting new features in Darwin Cloud. And we're going to cover them pretty quickly. And then every week going forward, each week is going to be a deep dive on one of these new features. Every week on Tuesday, there's going to be a deep dive into the feature and what it can do on Tuesday at this time. And every Wednesday at this time, there's going to be an hour of Q&A for anybody that wants to call in and get hands-on, one-on-one, well, it's not really one-on-one, but group training on how to learn how to use and set up and configure whatever the feature is that we taught the day before. So with that being said, let's get into it. I'm going to move pretty quickly through the history, but I want everybody to try to understand. I'd like everybody to have a little bit of an understanding of how we got to Darwin Cloud. It's actually been it's been a process, a 10-year process of getting out of the original account tech software into Darwin Citrix and into Darwin Cloud. And the reason that we did this is it's just a few main pillars. We wanted account tech software to be in a web browser because, frankly, that's what everybody wants. But for those of you who've worked with us for a long time, over the years, we had the original version of account tech called AT2000. And then separate from that, we had another website called Transaction Plan because there's things that you can't do in a Citrix environment that are not secure and safe, like loading up pictures and loading up documents. So we had Transaction Plan for that. We also had Darwin Desktop as another software that we developed so that you could, if you're an accountant and you wanted to upload journal entries or payroll journal entries or accounts payable entries, you could do that securely while the previous version of Darwin was hosted in Citrix. So the reason that in 2017, for those of you who've been with us since the aughts, the reason that we didn't go straight to the cloud was an architecture issue. You see, in the original version of Account Tech, the software and the database, it was all a single thing. But what we needed to do to get Darwin to where it is today, we needed to re-architect it so that the database was separate from the software, which was separate from the API servers. API servers, for the non-programmers on the call, this API servers are the servers that have all the software that does all the thinking and the calculating. So that the user interface that you see is in the front. The API servers are in the middle. It's called middleware, and that's the brains of the software. And then the database is where all your data is stored. And in the version of Darwin that came out for Citrix in 2017 through 2019, we had to affect this architecture before we could go to the web. And why we were determined to do this architecture is once the brains of your software is separated from the database and separated from the UI, all kinds of things become possible. For instance, the UI can become pages that show up in a web page, like you see right now. And I'm sure all of you that have used the Darwin Citrix as we go to Darwin Cloud, you noticed that we tried to do everything possible to make it look real familiar. So you could use Darwin and you don't really feel like you need training because yes, it's in a web browser, but it's more or less, less or more kind of the same. But because now Darwin is separated into these layers, the user interface layer, the API brains of it, and the database, other things are possible now too. So for any of you owners that are on the call, if you log into Darwin Cloud on your mobile device, your cell phone, you'll get a totally different version of Darwin where you can see your spotlights on the run. You can see your unpaid bills, and you can pay bills from your phone by logging into darwin.Cloud on your mobile device, or you can chat with people in your company through Darwin, all from your mobile device. This kind of multi platforming is possible in Darwin now because Darwin is separated to a separate middle tier.
Hey, Mark, I
So,
want to make sure if you're trying to share your screen, we're not seeing anything.
oh my Lord.
That's okay. You did a really good job explaining it.
Well, if I'm not showing it, then what's the point? So let me show you what I was. Thank you for that, Teresa.
That's better.
Okay. Yeah, what I wanted to show you guys was, let me see if I can show this to you. So these are the different softwares that came together in Darwin Cloud. We had our Citrix, our transaction plan, the original version of Account Tech. They all came together to make Darwin Cloud. And in this Darwin Citrix, this was the architecture we had to create, where the software is separate from the brains, goes through the firewall, and is separate from the servers. So this is what Darwin Cloud looks like today. But Darwin Cloud doesn't need to look like this. Darwin Cloud can look like a mobile app if you open it up on your phone, where you can see your spotlights and pay your bills and chat with your coworkers, all within Darwin Cloud from a mobile device that we designed for owners. So if you're using the mobile device or you're using Darwin, because of this, because we've taken the time to separate the application with this architecture, now different platforms are possible to use different parts of the software on whatever device that you're on. This is also a security question too. So I want to talk a little bit about logins to Account Tech. I want to talk about security, and then we're going to get into the meat of this, which is functions and features that we simply couldn't do. It technically wasn't possible or practical in Citrix. That's really the main goal of today. So now we've got this two-factor login security. So instead of Citrix, where people are sharing usernames and passwords, everybody has their own username and password, two-factor authenticated through their device. And we just did an analysis of this because this two-factor is a little bit cheaper than Citrix. Overall, nationwide, people have saved about 20% on average on their Citrix licenses by switching to the two-factor. Now, from a security point of view, I don't want to get bogged down on this, but there's a couple real important things I want to cover for security. Darwin Cloud is the most secure thing that we've ever created. And I'll tell you why. Because we are using a company called Cloudflare that's actually taking copies of the Darwin website and locating it on web servers all around the country. So when you use Darwin now, you're never more than 200 miles away from a physical server that has Darwin Cloud on it. Now, when you log into the software, the brains of Darwin software have moved to AWS, but to make it more secure, the API servers that are hosted on Amazon Web Services are only allowed to be accessed by Cloudflare, which is a security software for the web. So you can't just go to the public internet. There's no path by which you can get to the API servers of Accountic. They're all protected and can only be reached from Cloudflare. Now, when you tell the software, get me a property address or invoice my agents, or you do anything in the software, it communicates with the data center that we have here in Massachusetts. And what we've been able to do, instead of using the public internet, when we're talking to Amazon Web Services to our data center here in Massachusetts, we've set up a private internet called an OCX. And it connects Amazon Web Services to Accountic at our data center in an internet that's not open to the public. It's only for Accountic. And then all the work that you do goes to your SQL Server databases here in Boston. But the other thing that we've added is we've added SQL Server replication. This is crazy important with the security risks that are always coming out, so that every second while you're typing, everything that you type is instantly being replicated and saved to a copy of your database on another server in a different location, so that while you're working and you're updating stuff and adding stuff and changing stuff, everything that you do is being saved in real time to another server in a remote location. So if a piece of hardware ever fails, or if some new hacker injection thing gets figured out and somebody ever was to get on our network, it doesn't matter, because we have all of your data, not only the daily backups that we do, but minute by minute, millisecond by millisecond. We're saving all your work on a remote server in a different location. All right. So Darwin Cloud now has become all-in-one. All the apps that we used to have before, Darwin Desktop, and Transaction Plan, it's all in one app now, and Transaction Plan goes away and Darwin Desktop goes away. So you've probably already seen this. You used to have to store your photos in Transaction Plan, but now those are in Darwin on the Media Stream button. And you used to have to store documents for your properties in Transaction Plan, but those are here now on the Documents button in darwin.Cloud. If you schedule open houses, or open houses come in from your MLS and they need to go up to your franchise, the open house schedule is here in Darwin right now. If you do timeline tasks or to-do list or checklist, we call them timelines in Darwin, they used to always be in Transaction Plan. That the task lists for any property are here in Darwin now. And even your showing appointments, if you use Darwin to set up and track showing appointments, the showing appointments are here in Darwin Cloud too, on the Showings tab. Now, let's get into some of the new features. The main point of what I'm going to show you guys is to make sure you all know what's here, because this is what we're going to be training on all summer. Okay, let's talk about the agents portal. So when agents log into Darwin, they see a dashboard about themselves, their production this year, their production last year, but they also see their production compared to the goals that they've set to themselves. And these update in real time. Now, if you want to, you can set up goals for how much gross commission or net commission, or how many listings you're going to take, or pendings that you're going to set. And if your agents don't do that for themselves, you can do that for them as a manager or a leader in your company. And the graphs will show them how they are doing compared to the goals that they've set for themselves. Now, in the agent's portal, they also can use the company store. And in the company store, there are services and products that you sell to agents. They can order them from the company store. And when they order these items that you sell in your company, the system automatically invoices the agents for you. And when you set something up to be for sale in your company store, you can set it up that it needs to be prepaid or not. If it needs to be prepaid, the system will take their credit card or bank account withdrawal while they're purchasing the product. So there it is. It's a company store for you to automate the process of selling stuff out of the storeroom for agents or selling them services that you offer. Now, a lot of times, because Darwin sends out a lot of email notifications, sometimes it happens that the agents come back to you at the admin desk and they say, I didn't get that email yesterday for my closing. And who knows what the reason is. Maybe they blocked it or it went to spam or something. So now, instead of retrieving the email form, you can tell them just log into darwin.Cloud, go to Tools, and under the email log, there's a copy of every email they've ever received from you, and they can just point and click on it and read the email. And I'm sure everybody knows now, the agents can pay their bills in darwin.Cloud. They can pay by credit card. They can pay by bank account withdrawal. They can pay everything that they owe, or they can just select some of the things here to pay. When they pay their bill, as they pay their bill in Account Tech, it's automatically marked off as paid, and all the accounting associated with them paying their bill is done for you because they paid their bill in darwin.Cloud. Now, if any of you have worked in the designer for designing email campaigns or email notifications or text messages, you've probably also seen there's a new feature now where you can put a link in the email that goes to agents when you send them their monthly bill. So when you send them their monthly bill, you can put one of these pay bill links in your email, and when the agent gets the email, they'll click on a hyperlink that you design and you put in your email design. And when they click on it, they don't have to log into darwin.Cloud, but they'll get a pop-up window that looks something like this, that shows the credit card we have on file and the bank account we have on file. I guess if we don't have the credit card or bank account on file, they could just add it on the fly. But the point is, without logging into darwin.Cloud, just from the hyperlink in their email, they can pay their bill. Now, also in the agent's portal, starting this year, we have the agent's 1099s in there. So you don't have to stuff envelopes and send agents their 1099s anymore. So the 1099 service from darwin.Cloud has expanded. Account Tech will do your 1099 filing for you. They're called fire files that we deliver to the IRS for you for your 1099s, and you don't have to print 1099s out for the agents. Now, for the agents that lose their 1099 when you delivered it to them, you tell them just log into darwin.Cloud, and right here under the year, they can choose past year's
Yeah, I
1099s,
know.
and they can open
You
up
can't
any
get into Darwin
1099
either?
you've ever got them. Okay.
No, I just couldn't.
Teresa, go ahead and do some mutes for me, okay?
Yep, just did.
Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is Darwin Chat. We're going to come back to this a few times on this call, but here in the lower right-hand corner of your screen is a little chat bubble. And if you open that up, you can start a conversation about the property that you're viewing on the screen, and whoever you send it to, whether it's an owner or a buyer or a seller or an agent, they will get the message that you send them on their phone as a text message. And from their phone, they can respond to your text message using Darwin Chat mobile app that is automatically on their cell phone. They don't even need to install it. It's really just a web browser app. So from text messaging, they can respond, and their response, when they answer whatever question you ask them with Darwin Chat, their response comes back to you in Darwin, and it's saved in Darwin and linked to this property as one of the conversations we got going on for this property.
Hey, Mark,
Yes,
we're so small that we don't have I have our agents in there, but they don't go into Darwin Cloud. Can I still send them messages through this?
if they've got
Regarding-
anybody in the world that has a mobile device, you can use chat with.
Yeah,
Awesome.
just make sure their cell phone's in the agent record. You should be good.
What if,
Awesome, thank
sorry, what if, is it linked to listings only, properties only, or can we do it just, to chat with the agents? What if,
You can use it to chat with them about the weather. And I'm going to show you some features in a minute, Jess, about how you can use it to ask that manager, what the heck did you charge on the credit card? Or
Yeah.
does anybody know what this bill is that came from this advertising company? You can use it for anything. You can use it to chat with anybody about anything as long as they've got a cell phone in Darwin. And we're gonna train on that too. All right. Let's go into spotlights now. So I'm sure most of you have already seen the spotlights in Darwin, and there's about 15 or so default spotlights that are already in the system for things like pending cash flow forecasting or profitability. And these are spotlights, not agent-specific spotlights, but company-specific spotlights. For the people that would rather look at charts and graphs instead of reports, spotlights is the answer for what you want to have there. Now, you can make your own spotlights too, because Darwin has a complete drag and drop spotlight. You could think of it as a dashboard designer, and everything is drag and drop. And each of these little boxes here, whether it shows a number or a number compared to last year or a graph comparing this year to last year to budget or whatever, all of these little boxes are what's called widgets. And Darwin has over 1,600 widgets that you can mix and match and max and mitch, or what, I can't say that, but to get whatever spotlights you want for the main things that your company wants to focus on. In the designer, which is on the company menu, we're going to be training on this. You have main spotlights. Each spotlight has submenus, and that has widgets that you've drag and dropped onto a designer to get exactly the widgets you want for what your owners and your managers care about. And you'll see when we train on the drag and drop that you can just click here in the corner of these widgets and make them bigger or smaller, drag and drop, move them around, and whatever you design here will be the widget that you get. All right. So the next thing that I want to talk about a little bit is messaging and notifications. So if any of you have been doing email campaign designing, you've probably noticed that the designer is really enhanced now. The tools that are up here and available for you to get the email designer to give exactly the look and feel that you want to your emails, it's been really radically expanded. The other thing is now Darwin has a text message designer. So yes, you can send emails about closings or open houses or agent bills or anything you want, but you can also send text messages on schedule, just like you can send open houses on schedule. The merge fields are all over here on the right, and we're going to be training on how do you make custom emails and how do you make custom text messages to go out automatically. One of the other things that Darwin has that's really powerful, though, is what's called event-driven messaging. This is entirely new for us. So in this case, normally we think about sending emails when you have an agent bill or an agent has a closing, But what if something happens unattended? Like, for instance, a property comes in automatically from the MLS, or a property comes in automatically from SkySlope or Dotloop. The event of that happening can be the trigger for an email, or it can be the trigger for a text message that goes to the agent's phones, for instance, to give them a notification that an in-house listing just showed up in the MLS, and perhaps notify our agents about new listings that the company got before the agent population at whole knows about it. Maybe you can get more double-sided deals. And so this is the thing that we're going to be training on, different kinds of things like properties or a voucher or somebody paying their bill or an open house or somebody ordering something at the company store can be the trigger when it's added or when it's removed or when it's posted or when it's unposted. These events can be triggers for text messages or emails to go out. Now, we talked a little bit before about how you can do chat with agents about properties, but you can do chat with agents about all kinds of things. And if you get a chat message and you click on the text message that you get, when you click on the text message, it pops up what looks like a chat app on your phone, but it's really just a mobile browser. And it'll pop up automatically when you click on text messaging so that you can talk with your office. And if you are the office administrator, you're going to be sending chats to agents and sellers and buyers and title companies and mortgage companies and managers and whatever. So you can keep all the conversations you've got going in the chat manager. And you could have everybody you've got a chat with, it'll appear here on the left, and all the chats you got going on will appear here. And when somebody sends you a message back from their phone for something that you asked them for, the little chat button up here will have a little green dot next to it that lets you know somebody's messaging you on something that you ought to respond to. Now, you can even use this for credit card charges, because Darwin now pulls in credit card charges from the credit card companies, and you set up rules and your credit card charges get posted to your financials automatically. But it could happen that a credit card charge comes in and you don't know what it's for. So you can send a message to a manager asking them what that credit card charge is for, and they can respond to you. And if that manager's got a lot of people asking him questions, using the Darwin mobile chat, the manager or the owner can have chats going on about different topics with all different people in the company, do it all from their phone, and everything that they respond to not only goes to the person they're responding to, but it's also saved in Darwin under the property or the bill or the deposit or whatever it's supposed to be linked to. All right. Now we're going to get into some of the new accounting features in darwin.Cloud. So a couple of things. We've got this new company store setup screen that we're going to be teaching on, where you pick items that you're selling in your store and you put in what the price is and how to do the accounting for them so that the accounting is automatic when somebody buys the product. And there's a new feature in Darwin called billing groups. Now, a billing group can be a collection, is traditionally a collection of offices with a percentage next to them. And how you use billing groups, which we're going to teach about, is with the divide expense wizard. So you pick a bunch of offices that should share in the cost of a bill. And based on whatever you choose, AGCI or agent count or whatever, the system will determine what percentage of a bill each office should pay to pay their fair share of a bill that comes in from a supplier. And so when a bill does come in, you put in the supplier's name and the date and the total amount of the bill, and the system knows how to divide it. And knowing how to divide it, it makes a bill, puts it in the system for payment, but charges each office its automatically calculated fair share of the bill that they should be paying. That's billing groups, and we're going to be teaching about billing groups and the divide expense whether. We're going to be teaching about automatic credit card posting. So you hook up Darwin to your credit cards. The credit card charges come in automatically. Darwin, you train Darwin where to put that expense on your P&L when it comes in, and it posts automatically. And that happens also for your bank accounts. So you can pull in your bank account activity, and anything that's on auto pay will come in, it'll hit the rule and automatically post the accounting of it for you. And if you have a question about something, what you can do is while you're entering the credit card, you can send a message out to a manager or an owner and ask them for clarification about what the charge was for. Also, we've added this automatic bank reconciliation so that if you do hook your bank account up to Darwin, Darwin knows all the deposits and checks that you wrote in the month. So when it comes to be bank rec time, you can click this auto clear button up here, and everything that matches Darwin will clear for you to make it faster to do the bank recs. And there's also a new feature in the bank rec screen and the pay bill screen. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's up here in the upper right corner. It's a little green button. And what it does is it lets the bank rec get full screen, so you have more screen real estate to make it easier to clear the bank recs. That might be something that you'd find useful. Now, Darwin also now has e-checks. So if you don't want to do a paper check, which you do with printing a check, or direct deposit to somebody, but you want to send them a PDF attachment of a check that they can print out and take to their bank, that's included in Darwin now too. The bank charges a couple pennies for it, but it's in Darwin, so you can make it automatic, and it's cheaper than a stamp. So with the e-checks, anybody in any vendor, any agent, anybody that you do business with, if they have an email address and you owe them money, you can email them an e-check instead of mailing them a check. And you can do it right here from Darwin. Now, when they get the e-check from you, they click on a little link and it opens up this e-check printer. And when they take the check to the bank, just like as if they were using deluxe business systems, if the bank has a question about a check that we send to them, they can go to the website darwin.Cloud e-check-verify, and the bank can verify that the check that you're presenting is a valid, authentic check that they should cash. Okay. One other thing about when you're paying bills, sometimes people get, when you're paying bills, there's managers that get recruiting overrides or mentors that get bonuses or whatever. In your accounts payable system right now, if there's an override for somebody, a manager or a recruiter or whatever, maybe you don't pay them right away. You wait till the end of the month or the end of the quarter before you pay the overrides. Now, in the pay bill screen, you can see what the source and the override type was if the bill was an override. Because if you want to postpone paying those, you can filter for them in the pay bill screen now to make it easier to put those bills off for payment until it's the end of the month or whenever it is you decide to pay them. Now, sometimes it happens that the money for a closing comes in before the closing, but you want to put the money in the bank, but you can't. In the past, you couldn't because the property wasn't closed in Darwin yet, so there was nothing to attach the deposit to. Well, now you can make the deposit in advance, put it on the books, take it to the bank, and the system will be aware that that property has already received the payment before you do the closing, and it'll automatically do all the accounting for you for the money that you've received in advance. For those of you who have multiple companies, one of the most powerful things about CountTech is the fact that you can have multiple companies running in CountTech all at the same time with different tax IDs and different tax returns, but you can keep it all in one system instead of having to have like 20 QuickBooks files or 20 Lone Wolf files or whatever. You can keep all your companies here all together. And that's really great if you have real estate companies, plus mortgage companies, plus title companies, plus insurance companies. You can keep them all here. And of course, since you have the companies here, you know, you can run profit and loss statements, for instance, that have all of your companies' separate financials, all your P&L side by side, all rolling up to one or, unified profit and loss statement. But one of the big things that happens with when you have multiple companies, sometimes one company will pay a bill, but it needs to be, they're paying the bill on behalf of one of the other companies. So now Accounttech has this thing called intercompany billing. So when you're paying a bill, you could be paying the bill to the vendor, but part of the bill is for one of the other companies that you own. And when you pay the bill to the supplier, this company gets a bill to pay the primary company back because they paid a bill for them. So accountants used to waste a lot of time keeping track of which company owes which company money, because this company paid money for that company and that company paid money for this company. But now that's all automatic in Accounttech with intercompany billing. Now, on terms of the financials, couple of other things that will be really helpful, I think, when you're looking at the P&L and you misclassified something and you put it in the wrong category. Now all the accounting screens in Darwin have this thing called reclassify expenses. Now that's a hyperlink right at the top of the voucher screen or the journal entry screen or the check screen or the deposit screen. It could happen sometimes that the reclassify expenses hyperlink is disabled, but that's because the accounting record it's in a locked financial period and you don't want anybody changing stuff because your CFO has locked down the period. But if the reclassified button is available without unposting or unprinting the check or whatever, you can just pop up a screen, change the GL account something was expensed to, change the office that it was charged to, and it'll update and correct all of your accounting without you having to post and unpost and repost and all of that kind of stuff. Also, when we talk about budgets, Darwin has really extensive budgeting features. And when you think of budgets, you would normally think about net profit or EBITDA to budget or cumulative to budgets, or when you're thinking about budgets, you might think of just a traditional profit and loss to budget compared to year to date to budget, compared to last year to budget or year over year, And so Accounttech has always had really deep budgeting tools, but I just want to point out that now Darwin has budgeting for things that are not necessarily financial. What if you want to budget for how many contracts are we going to write this month? How many listings are we going to have in inventory? What's our goal or our budget for how many listings we want to have in inventory? Or how much company dollar we want to make, or how much GCI we plan to close. These are not necessarily P&L budget things like rent expense or occupancy expense, but you can set budgets for non-financial data, and Accounttech has reports to show you office by office, company by company, how you're doing for your performance goals. The other reason you might want to fill that in is because if you fill in budgetary goals for like gross commission or number of agents or number of listings you're going to take or pending contracts you're going to write, those budgets will also show on your spotlights. So when you're looking at listings or pendings or gross commission or volume or sides, if you put in budgets for those things, they'll show on your spotlights and on your reports. So the budget is financial and not financial with darwin.Cloud.
Hey, Mark,
Yes.
quick question for you. The e-check, is that, when that's emailed, is that a link to the e-check or is it a PDF that is emailed?
Oh, it's a link that opens up a secure site at Accounttech.
Okay, thank you.
And that secure site opens up a PDF printer that validates that you are who you say you are and that it's okay for you to print this check.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Um, I'm way over time, so I'm gonna try to finish these last few screens and then if anybody wants to ask any questions about anything, I want to just talk a little bit about document storage and document delivery. So now, we're used to thinking about document storage for properties where we put up our listing agreement and our offer and our purchase and sale agreement or whatever. But now you can store documents in darwin.Cloud for any accounting entry also, or any agent or any employee or any buyer or any seller. Everything in Darwin has document storage attached to it. So if you're looking at bills, you can attach a copy of the bill to the bill in darwin.Cloud. If you're looking at invoices that you sent out to an agent or invoices you sent out to the title company that rents space from you, you can store a copy of the bill in the invoice inside of Darwin. If you've got it, what I think is a great practice is save copies of your deposit slips and put a copy of the deposit slip, scan it and put a copy of it on the deposits. But one of the things I want to show you, and maybe you noticed this, is underneath the memo line, everything, whether it's a voucher or an invoice or a deposit or a check or a journal entry, it has a little email address at accounttech.com. Every accounting entry has a unique email address at accounttech.com. If you've got a deposit slip, because you just entered this deposit, if you email a deposit slip as an attachment to this email address, it'll come into AccountTech, it'll find the deposit, and it'll attach it to the property for you, or the deposit, or the invoice, or the voucher. So you can click the little Add Document button up here and put documents on your accounting records. And we're going to be training on that, but you can also email them in. That's something new for darwin.Cloud. Now, so here it is. This is how they look. And you just email the attachment to that email address and it'll attach to the accounting record. Now, properties have an email address too. And one of the things that's unique about darwin.Cloud that's a little bit new, if you send documents to this email address for the property, the documents will upload and they will file themselves on the property in the Documents tab. But if you send pictures, if you send photos to that email address of the house, the system is smart enough to know that this is a picture, not a document, and it'll store the pictures under the media page of darwin.Cloud. And then, of course, if you're in a franchise, it'll upload those pictures to your franchise for you. One last thing I want to introduce, it's about notes. If you're working on a property or you're working on an agent record or a buyer-seller record, if you're working on a bill that needs to be paid or a bank deposit or an invoice or whatever, maybe there's some notes that you want to keep track of about that might be on sticky notes all stuck around the borders of your monitor or something like that. Now, in Darwin, down here at the bottom right of your screen, there's a little sticky note button. And when you click on it, you can write a note, an unlimited number of notes about anything, properties, people, deposits, checks, bills, invoices, whatever. You can attach notes to anything. And when you want to attach a note, you're attaching a note to whatever you're looking at on the screen by clicking this little button. And on every screen, that note, after you've saved it, saves with that record, so that if you were to go to here, for instance, down to the chat and notes on the property, you'll see all the notes that you and everybody else ever wrote about that property, about that closing, about that agent, about that co-broke agent, or whatever it might be. Well,
Hey, quick question. The reclassify feature that you showed,
yes,
when
ma'am.
you do that, is that reflected immediately, or is that on, does a full rep cube update need to happen, or incremental?
Well, we haven't advertised this yet because we wanted to subject it to more testing. But actually now accounting record cubes are auto updating even without refreshing the cubes within about 5 minutes of you saving an accounting entry. So
Okay.
we have background cube updates happening for financial stuff all through the day. So probably you'll see that reflected in the financials in about 5 minutes. Where the Lucho and the programmers are working on having real-time cube updates happening for properties, but that's going to take a little bit longer because it's much more complex than accounting entries are. But the accounting entries are already up and installed. So yes, of course, it'll update the financials when you do a cube update or when it has an overnight cube update. But the reality is cube update is running all the time in the background. So anyway, that was a good question. All right, well, that took 15 minutes longer than it was supposed to, but let's just open it up. We have a little bit of time. Anybody on the call that wants to ask a question about anything, you want to just pop it in the chat or turn off your audio and we can talk about stuff. Therese, do you have anything in chat, questions that you want to
I
pop
think,
from?
no, I think we got all of them.
Wow. All right.
Mm.
Teresa, you want to show the upcoming schedule then for the classes?
Yeah, let me just send in a reply here real quick. All right. Yeah, so one of the things that we just want to make sure you guys are aware of, and I'll share my screen,
All right, I'll stop sharing here.
okay, is we've created a portion of the website. We're calling it Cloud Now. So it's just accounttech.com/cloud now. And this is kind of your resource center for everything cloud. It's kind of how I'm thinking about it a little bit. So we've got a whole page just talks about a lot of these new features that Mark went over really quickly and what are some of the benefits that you can get out of that. So there's a whole area here on benefits of all of the different cloud features. We also have some frequently asked questions. What are some of the most commonly asked questions that we get? So if you're looking for some basic answers, this is where we've got all of our new feature webinars that we've got scheduled out that Mark was referring to. So if you just click on the new feature webinars, we will be posting any past webinars and recordings on a separate page. So at any point, you can come in and see any of those past recordings. And then the newest one will be at the very top. So now that we've just finished this one, we're going to have a new one starting. So next week, we're going to talk more in depth about the agent portals. And so you can register or you can join straight into the Zoom link. Each registration and Zoom link is individually set up for that particular topic. So we will have some pop-ups that come in when you first log into Darwin with those registration links to make it real easy. But like I said, the Q&A session at any point, those are going to be right on your dashboard in our Q&A schedule. So you can see our Wednesday new features Q&A. So you can join those at any time. And then finally, the last portion of the Cloud Now section is going to be these new feature Q&A sessions. Just kind of talks about, we'll just post some different content here as we start going through those Q&As, but you can actually see a little bit more information about these Q&A sessions if you click into there. So
So just to be clear, Tuesday, what
Tuesday webinar,
Tuesday webinar,
Wednesday Q&A.
Wednesday is basically training.
Yeah.
So we're going to start with seeing if anybody wants to have training on what we taught on Tuesday. Otherwise, the hour is for people that want training on anything.
Yeah.
Wide open, whatever you want to get one-on-one hands-on training on. All righty. All right, who else might have something that we can talk about today? And again, I'm trying to keep this to half an hour, but who else has got something?
And Lori asked the question, but I've put it in the chat a couple times. You may see there's some new features that we're showing you that you don't see in your software. We're working on getting those enabled for everybody by next week. For anybody that has the owner role. If you don't have the owner role and you need to have access to these, you should be able to give yourself permission to them in the security settings. But we don't want to give permission to anybody that shouldn't have access to something.
Yeah,
So
so our plan is every Wednesday when we do our open QA, we're going to start it out with a little bit of a review, about how to modify the security settings. Because you have some of the features that I'm showing you, for instance, like automatic bank recs or e-checks, you might not want to give permissions to that to the front desk secretary, you know? So different people in the company need different permissions. You guys are totally in charge of that. So it could be that there's features that you are not seeing because they're not turned on for you or the role that you have. So I'm going to start out every Wednesday that I'm going to start the class out. Well, it won't always be me, but whoever's teaching the Wednesday class, we'll start it out with some security settings training to show you how to turn on chat, how to turn on notes, how to turn on credit card automation, whatever.
yeah, Mark, do you want to just show how to turn on chat? Because I know we've had a couple questions about how to turn that on if it's up and running.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, absolutely. Let me give me a second to log into Darwin somewhere and then I will.
Mhm.
Actually, I'm in it.
All right, great. If you would please.
Great. Sounds good. All right. So right in Darwin. All right. Let me just close that Q&A out. So when you go to your security settings, okay, first off, you can search, by certain users. But let's just say we're going to look at the role and we're going to take a look at the role for owner. So I'm going to select owner and I can see the users that have that particular security role.
That are owners, yeah.
Yeah. And then it's going to be here in actions. And so you're going to see things like, for instance, when I get into, let's say, payables, do I have all of it? Actually, I'm
Yeah, let me show you how you do it, okay?
actually set.
So in either the selected or not selected, type the word chat,
Okay.
okay?
So I should have all of them then.
It looks like you have all of them. So
Yeah. So chat, people, properties.
and there it is.
Yep.
So you want to just turn on the chat feature.
Mhm.
And then if you turn on the chat feature, if you turn it off, if you don't want people having chat, you just turn it off. Otherwise, you turn it on.
So that means you don't have it. And now you do.
Now, when you turn it on, what you get is those next time you log in the lower right-hand corner, you'll have the little chat button and the notes button down here in the lower right-hand corner. So
Yeah.
whenever you change the security settings, you just log out and log back in, and then you get it. That's a good question. That's a real good question.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, chat, everything that we've looked at today, from e-checks to chat to notes, everything's live, and it's just controlled by the security settings. Good. Any other questions, guys? All right, we're going to be back here then tomorrow at 2, and basically just wide open. Anybody that wants to come in, talk about anything for setup or configuration or using any of the features that we covered. And there we go.
All right.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for
Thank
coming to
you.
the call
Guys have a
today.
great rest of your day.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, everybody.